very common for teams to struggle with communication, particularly if you have a group of people that are distributed around the world or around the city or working on different schedules. In any case, not in the same office where it's easy to walk up to someone and ask a question or share a message. It becomes very, very difficult to manage communication across these groups. This is commonly the case for small businesses, particularly startups. It's also the case for very large businesses that have multiple different offices, perhaps running in different time zones, perhaps on different continents. And it's also very, very common within clubs, which is often a hobby type of endeavor. So people are often checking their messages through the day or in the evenings at odd times and from strange locations, such as when they get into their car after work. Fortunately, the internet has come a long way in providing services that help improve communication in these types of groups. One of my particular favorites is known as Slack. Slack is a team communication tool. You could think of it as instant messaging, somewhat similar to the way that Facebook groups would work or a Facebook page, with some elements of the way that Messenger or WhatsApp or Line or WeChat operate. It allows a team to communicate in a very efficient way, and unlike places like Facebook Messenger or Facebook groups, is fully searchable, which essentially means that as you collect information, as you have discussions, as you answer questions, as you share documents and links with your team, they are accessible later. Whereas in most common free internet solutions like Messenger and WhatsApp, once they've scrolled off the screen, even as briefly as a week later, you will find it nearly impossible to find any previous posts. Part of the reason I like Slack is that it offers a lot of structural organization capability. You can see in some examples here, I have down the left side a number of different organizations, each of which have a completely separate Slack account. Now, right now, what you're seeing is the Slack desktop version running under Windows 10. There is also a mobile application version. There's also a web browser-based version, which means that no matter where you are, no matter when you're accessing it, no matter what device you're holding in your hand or what you're sitting in front of, you can access and manage Slack. I typically use it primarily at my desktop, but I also use the phone version quite a bit when I'm on the go. So on this very left side, I can run several different businesses or teams or organizations. I can run different clubs. This happens to be my Japanese drumming team. This second column you can see here is one of the best features of Slack. It is referred to as the channels bar. This allows me to organize conversations into groups, or you might think of them as rooms. I can create these channels or rooms very, very dynamically on the fly. I've used this, in fact, in the past to track individual performance requests, where we would have discussions about logistics, what types of equipment, who's going to be involved in their performance. And each of those could be created on the fly and then archived as soon as that project was complete. Now you can see we have a number of different channels: class organization, concerts, creative details, different special workshops that we're running, special performance requests that come in, and so on and so forth. And then at the bottom, you have the ability to message and communicate with individual team members in a one-on-one communication. So just to be clear here, these channels are generally public, meaning that any authorized member of my organization can see them, but only certain members are generally part of that channel, meaning that they will get notified every time there is a new post. That allows different people in your team, for example, the sales people or the product development people, perhaps delivery or deployment people, to be subscribed to the discussions that are most important to them and to essentially look at other projects and endeavors separately. So it's very, very dynamic and very, very flexible. And the ability to create new channels on the fly, invite people into them, gives you a huge amount of versatility in how you are organizing your business. I do recommend that you plan a little bit regarding naming conventions and regarding how you want to create channels. If you go overboard, you can end up with a lot of channels that don't make a lot of sense if the names weren't carefully chosen, and therefore it will just become very confusing what is going where. You can also have private channels, which essentially means that the creator can invite specific people in, but not others. And in fact, other members won't even know that that private channel exists unless they've been invited into it. And you can go even further. Now, all of the features I'm talking about now are available in the free version of Slack, 100% free. But there are a lot of great capabilities that come with a paid subscription, including the ability to invite outside non-team members into specific channels. A great example is clients that you want to be able to communicate on a client project. You could set up a channel specific to their project, invite them in, and then let them know every time there's a new update or deployment or every time you have a question. And it makes things very, very free form and very, very efficient. Now, Slack allows you to do these short posts like you can see here. It offers some basic markdown type syntax, which allows me to do bold and italics and links. I can easily paste in things like Google Documents, YouTube videos, and it will show a nice big thumbnail and make it accessible from within the Slack interface. So everything is very, very efficient. I can upload files. Slack integrates with a lot of third-party services, so I can tie it to my Dropbox account, and I can tie it to my Google Calendar, and I can tie it to my Google Drive, and I can tie it to all sorts of different things. And you can go far, far above and beyond that if you want to invest a little bit of time in the programming and efficiency. For example, I like to automate Slack quite a bit. I like to treat it as the central repository for information flow, because everyone can see it. We can tick things off like so. If I want to mark something as great, that's done, I can basically put a what's called an emoticon on that message so that the rest of the team knows that I've read it and approved it. I can also have information feeding in from other systems. So for example, if a student enrolls on the website, I might have an automated process whereby they get a welcome email, but there is also a message dropped into Slack to say, hey, a new student enrolled, and by the way, they had a question. It makes it very easy for us to see that and to respond to it as a team. Overall, this has been one of the most powerful tools that I've found for managing distributed teams. I have so far run 36 businesses in my life that I've been involved in some way as a founder, and I wish that I had Slack for all 36 of them. I'm currently running 5 businesses, and Slack is instrumental to all 5 of them, as well as I often set it up for clients to help them operate their businesses, and so that I can communicate and interact with them more easily. And whether it's a business or a club, I find that if you've got a team that needs to communicate, it is very difficult to beat the flexibility and the convenience that Slack offers. If you have these needs, I highly recommend you invest a little bit of time learning how to use it. There is a small learning curve simply because people aren't used to needing to install a new tool or check a new thing, but it is so far superior to something like Google Groups, and it offers so many more integration and configuration and automation capabilities that it will save you tons and tons of time and effort. I hope you enjoy it.